Welcome to Be Schooled, a podcast by Stacy Blackman Consulting, bringing you tips, advice, and insight into all aspects of the MBA admissions process and business school experience. And now, here's your host, writer, author, and Harvard MBA, who's been an MBA admissions consultant for over a decade, Erica Olson.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for listening. As the intro said, I'm Erica, and I've been at Stacy Blackman Consulting for over 10 years. I can't wait to bring you our team's deep MBA admissions experience in the weeks and months ahead. But before we dive into things, I first just wanted to say that I hope you and your extended family and loved ones and friends are staying safe and healthy in these unprecedented and scary times. I personally have family members and close friends on the front lines of this fight, and I know how hard it is to juggle all of the personal and professional stress, obligations, anxiety, and uncertainty we're each going through right now. That's why my personal goal for this podcast is to help take even the tiniest bit of stress off of you if you're planning to apply for business school this coming fall or winter or at some point in the future. I'm going to bring the full weight of our team here to help you navigate the process and pass along what we've learned since Stacy launched Stacy Blackman Consulting way back in 2001. Speaking of Stacy, she conceived of this podcast before the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Now, in light of everything that's going on and how much is currently in flux at business schools across the world, we're even more eager to help you through the MBA admissions process. Because I don't think there's any doubt that the application year coming up might be the most challenging and strangest one we've seen for quite some time. Before we get going on today's topic, which is things that you can do between now and round one to strengthen your candidacy, as well as one important thing that I want you to not be stressing about, I want to give you a preview of what we'll be covering here on Be Schooled over the coming weeks, since this is our very first episode. Most of the time, I'll be focusing on one specific part of the application process and giving you advice and examples from the collective Stacy Blackman Consulting team's experience and our past clients. Other times, I'll be joined by another SBC admissions consultant as we discuss a certain aspect of the admissions journey. Sometimes I'll interview past or current SBC clients, or B school professors, or recent alums, or other people who are integral to the admissions process but might be a little bit more behind the scenes. And of course, Stacy herself might pop in every once in a while as well. So thanks for tuning into this first episode, and I hope you'll stick with us and subscribe so that you don't miss anything. And with that, let's jump into what you should be doing between now and round one deadlines. If you're planning to apply to business school in the fall, all of the extra time you may find yourself having right now can be put to good use. While there's a lot up in the air about what business schools will do in light of the current pandemic, and most of their immediate focus has been finishing up the round 3 admissions process, which has been extended at many schools, and then getting creative with admit weekends for those who will be a part of the class of 2022, I personally remain positive that round 1 timing for the upcoming admissions cycle will remain fairly on track. You know, after all, business schools pride themselves as being homes to the best and brightest minds in the world, and a big focus is teaching leaders how to adapt and transform. So it's kind of like, what better time is there to kind of prove their value, right? So assuming everything stays on track, you have about 5 months until the first round 1 deadlines hit, usually right after Labor Day, kind of in early September. So what's one of the most important things you can try to do between now and then? It's really get a few more leadership experiences under your belt. You know, and again, right now, given the pandemic, our advice to you might be a little bit different than it normally would. But I think that at work, you could still seek out opportunities to manage projects or teams. You know, these might be kind of virtual projects or internal projects, but still there's a chance to try and go above and beyond your current role. When or if you have an idea for how to improve or streamline a process in your office or for a client, take the initiative to work on it in your spare time. If your manager is supportive of your plans to go back to business school, ask what other responsibilities you could take on. Perhaps you could mentor a junior employee or set up a virtual training session or head up some sort of company-sponsored volunteer event. Again, might be virtual, but or maybe a fundraiser. You know, in light of the current situation, you might have to think up a new way to maybe stay connected virtually or help somebody who's struggling with balancing homeschooling their kids or caring for older relatives. All of these steps will likely result in additional accomplishments that you could put on your resume or write essays about or discuss in an interview. 5 months is also more than enough time to get involved, or ideally get more involved in a cause that's close to your heart, even if you have to do it remotely. Taking an active role in a community organization or nonprofit is an excellent way to differentiate yourself from the competition. If you volunteered for a certain group before, see what else you can do to help them with something that's more high profile or urgent now due to COVID-19. See if there's any open leadership roles that could be a good fit. There are also likely to be organizations that you may have never heard of before all of this that are in your local community and serve critical needs for those who are struggling. Think of what skills you have that you can lend to those organizations. I've heard of accountants helping nonprofits figure out their cash flow situations now that less funding may be coming in. I've heard of consultants doing pro bono work for ailing small businesses. Tech-savvy people could help organizations that need a new website or perhaps e-commerce functionality that they didn't have before. And then, of course, there are things that any of us could do, like volunteer for Meals on Wheels or be a personal shopper for an elderly neighbor or call a senior home and see what they need, all while, of course, taking the necessary safety precautions for yourself. You don't need to do something that will save millions of lives. Some of the most powerful essays I've ever read in my decade of doing this have been about the positive effect that one person had on the life of just one other person. One thing I want to add here that's probably important to cover, because I've already been getting this question from some of my current round one clients is, well, how am I supposed to compare to people who are on the front lines of the crisis right now? Or, I have a coworker who is on the White House task force team. How am I supposed to compete with that? You're not competing with those people. So this is the thing I was talking about at the beginning that I don't want people to be stressing about. So in any application year, in any application round, there are always going to be what I call outliers, people that are right in the midst of a headline-making situation, be it the collapse of a major company or some major takeover or some major controversy. There's always going to be candidates like that. And the reality is you are not going to be compared to those people. Those people are kind of in a separate bucket, I would call it, in the applications process. And the vast majority of people are in the situation you're in right now, which is that your work may have been scaled back. You and your company may still be figuring out how exactly things are going to work. Perhaps your responsibilities are less. That is okay. I have to believe that for the upcoming admissions year, admissions committees are really, and we've already heard this from some of them directly, worried about equity and making sure that the process is fair for everyone. So I think the good news is that there's a heck of a lot of time, right, between what you did in college and what you did after college that the admissions committees can judge your candidacy on. And they are likely going to kind of stop judging your candidacy at the point that the pandemic really hit worldwide. So I think that because everybody, after that point, everything was out of everybody's control as far as what they could contribute to work or perhaps what it was safe for them to be able to do in their community. So I don't want people out there stressing about, these outliers that they may hear about in their, in their company or in their extended group of friends who are doing things that seem amazing. There's always people like that. And keep your focus on yourself and what you can personally do to strengthen your materials. So again, while there are some aspects of your candidacy that are already set in stone, where you earned your undergraduate degree, your grade point average, your career choices up until this moment, there are still certainly things that can be improved over the next few months. As we were already talking about, leadership is the biggest opportunity, but so is studying for the GMAT and GRE. If you've already taken the test but think there's even any room for improvement, we always encourage people to take it again. It shows self-awareness and persistence to the admissions committee. If you just take it once and don't get the school's average and never try again, that actually sends a message that you might not be as self-aware as you need to be for this process. As you may have heard, both the GRE and GMAT are offering at-home versions right now, each of them with slightly different rules. So check those sites to see if doing that version of the test makes sense for you in the meantime until the opportunity to do it in person again might be offered. So in the months ahead, try to stay productive and busy in ways that will strengthen your candidacy. And like I said, try to remain focused on your own candidacy and not worry about what other people are doing right now. I know is very hard to do.